Welcome into another edition of Sunday Flags. I'm Mason Kinnahan. That over there is Luke Brown. And here we go. Well, this this is the first of many probably here at Sunday Flags, but this is the American Express recap episode. And surprise, surprise, in his PGA Tour debut, Scottie Scheffler has won his first event of 2026 here at La Quinta, California. Luke, it was a tournament that was dominant from Scottie from beginning to end. He was in the mix the entire way and was able to get the job done on Sunday, shooting a seven under, I believe, or six under to get the job done. It an incredible performance from Scottie all around. And I mean, are we surprised at this point?
No, I mean, inevitable is the word that everybody uses, and that comes to play quite a bit here with a guy that making his first start of the year. Um, kind of saw rumblings from other golfers through the week, but I think that everybody kind of knew what direction this was heading, and Scottie Scheffler picks up his 20th career win on tour, and there's the comparisons continue, to the all-time greats. Like yesterday, it was brought up in Scotty's post-game interview or post-round interview on Golf Channel. They said nobody's won 20 career PGA Tour tournaments, four majors before the age of 30, except for Nicholas and Tiger. Scott, you can draw on so many, and we will, bring up some stats here as they come across. But it's more and more and more with each tournament looking like this is an all-time great. And at this point, I think we kind of know he's an all-time great, and you're probably going to hear us say that at least 7 or 8 more times this season as he continues to rack up wins on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it was a week of dominance from Scottie, who went 63, 64, 68, 66 to finish. He was at 1.8 under through 16 during his Sunday round before double bogeying 17 after he put a shot in the water. But it was a round where between holes 3 and 16, he was 8 under par, and this thing was wrapped up before, really, after he finished the front nine. It felt like he had a 4-shot lead, and then he made it a 5-shot lead after 11 on the par five, and it was a round that you kind of just saw everyone else behind him struggle, and it's kind of been this Scottie effect that we've seen on Sundays, especially in these regular PGA Tour events when you have a guy next to Scottie that maybe is not as experienced or at the top of uh, the golf landscape, but he's still a really solid player. And Scottie came into this final round. We'll get to it with Siwoo Kim and Blades Brown. Both of those guys really struggled on the front nine. Scottie went 4 under, was at 4 under in his round at one point, and ultimately was able to take him down. He had a 5-shot lead, I believe, with about with 2 holes to go. Now it or a 6-shot lead with 2 holes to go. Now ultimately it was a 4-shot lead after he put his tee shot on 17 in the water. But I mean, it's crazy to see just how much better Scottie Scheffler is compared to any other golfer in the world right now. There's a ginormous gap, and another one of those stats to point out this gap is in OWGR rankings right now.
Yeah.
The average points for Scottie is around, I think, just over 16 per tournament. Rory, who's second, is just over 8. That is he's almost doubling up Rory, and that is the same gap between Rory and like the 650th golfer in the world.
Yeah.
That
Plenty
is
of,
that is
yeah.
insane.
No, yeah, no, it 100% is. So that was one of the things that I had on the long list of stats. Let's indulge a little bit on some of these stats, career-wise, tournament-wise. Something that stands out to me from the PGA Tour Communications Twitter account yesterday, they had two tweets that were interesting to me. Scottie Scheffler is the first player or the second fastest player all time to 20 career PGA Tour wins. Tiger Woods obviously is in first with a number of 95. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Scotty's got at 151. The next best is Rory with 205. Lee Trevino's on that list at 214, and then Tom Watson has the 223 career mark. So 151 PGA Tour starts to get to 20 wins, and then this is just. I mean, we know and we watch these tournaments, but to really look at a table that has was also tweeted by PGA Tour Communications, um, the last 13 starts. So this dates back to the 2025 Byron Nelson, which he won. Also, the PGA Championship was next on that calendar, which he won. He hasn't finished worse than T8 in his last 13 PGA Tour career starts. It goes win, T4 at the Tour Championship, win at the BMW, T3 at the St. Jude, won the Open, T8 at the Genesis Scottish Open, T6 at the Travelers, T7 at Oakmont, won the Memorial, T4 at the Charles Schwab, and then won both the PGA and the Byron Nelson last year. Um, and then something that also stood out to me about uh, tournament wise rather than career wise, 7 birdie putts in 12 holes yesterday. And we all kind of saw the clips and everything of the 10-footer after the chip that went long. Other than that 10-footer, he didn't have anything outside of 5 feet, or I'm sorry, 4 feet 5 inches. He had a 4-footer, a 13-incher, 7-incher, 2-footer, that 10-footer, and then two more 2-footers. Um, and we saw Blades Brown. That was like the thing that he mentioned in his post round interview yesterday was that he was blown away by Scotty's short game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a performance around the green and on the green from Scotty that where we've kind of become used to seeing and the skill that he has around the greens and on the greens now is something that he has drastically improved in since 2 3 years ago when that was his major weakness. And now, I mean, you look at Scotty and all these birdies and chipping it close pretty much anytime he had the opportunity. It still feels like it still feels like he could have gone lower in some cases. You had that
Yeah,
long chip on the par three, I believe it was the 13th, where that just barely missed the hole. I mean, he was dialed in throughout the entire round. And I mean, maybe not on 17, but the thing was long over at that point. But
yeah.
it was a performance from Scotty that is just so much better than anyone else. He's third now in career money behind Rory and Tiger. I know the money has kind of inflated at this stage, but he's only about $20 million behind Tiger for first place, which he is definitely going to hit this season. It feels like, and also Bennett now has seen his dad win 12 times, and he isn't even 2 years old yet. I saw this one tweet. I forgot who it was from. He's like, uh, Bennett doesn't run up on doesn't crawl on the greens now for normal tournaments like this. It's only a majors thing. He's been
That's
there,
funny.
done that with these
That's funny.
regular PGA Tour events. But Scottie Scheffler has won the American Express in his first start of the PGA Tour season. I kind of want to look ahead now. Does this change anything for you in terms of Scotty and the rest of this season, or is this kind of for you like, well, yeah, I mean, he's the best player in the world. He should be winning a tournament like this because he was the clear favorite coming in too.
I think that it's a confirmation of everything that we know about Scotty Scheffler, and that is it really doesn't matter to him per se what the tournament is. He's going to show out and compete at the same level no matter what. And we've heard him say that so many times that it's become like I mean we hear from Scotty Scheffler so much that you really do get to learn his mentality because he's asked similar if not the same questions and very much has the same answers and the same approach to every tournament and I'm not surprised that he comes out and wins his first start of the year at a tournament that, is not a signature event, is not, anywhere close to sniffing a major. That stuff doesn't matter to him. Like we talked about Brooks Koepka a couple weeks ago, and certainly will here shortly as he's going to make his first start of the year. But we talk about him, and he cashes in all of his chips for majors, and that's one way that you can go about it. And for him, he's won 5 of them, so that's worked in a sense for what he wants to accomplish. But that's not Scottie Scheffler. Scottie going into a tournament probably cares just as much about the American Express as maybe every other tournament outside of the majors. I think that at some point you do look at the majors a little differently, but his is very minimally, and that's very commendable. And everybody loves the way that he goes about it, and nobody's surprised that he took home an American Express here to start the year. Um, in terms of if this changes the way I think about him going forward, it just reminds everybody that he's there, and he is going to continue to win no matter what.
Yeah, I think Michael Kim put out a pretty good post on Twitter, kind of with his thoughts on Scotty and how, like, what he thinks about going into a tournament. Um, I'm trying to find it. I lost it, but uh, it is kind of mind boggling to see how good he is compared to these other guys. Maybe he deleted it. I can't find it anymore. But he was basically saying something like, when he goes into a tournament, he doesn't think about winning, and that's the majority of players on tour, which I agree with. But
Mm.
there is a stage where when you're in like one of the final groups with Scotty, you kind of know it's going to be really, really difficult to beat this guy. And I mean, he's not wrong. Like whenever Scott, oh, I think it was when Scotty was within one shot of the lead heading into Sunday. He won like his last 4 events or 5 events or something like that, which is also crazy in its own right. But this guy not only can perform well consistently over Thursday through Saturday, but he's got that like killer shot that he's got on Sunday and that clutch gene when he just puts people away quickly on Sunday too. It's not like
Yeah,
it's it's not like I would say a Rory at times when he's kind of fighting and he keeps guys in it. But ultimately, he's going to come away with the win with some clutch shots down the stretch. Scotty is someone who's going to turn it on from hole one. He's going to birdie the first or birdie the second, and all of a sudden you're going to be one shot behind, 2 shots behind. You're going to have to play catch up with the number one player in the world, and that is really hard to do. Uh, and he puts these guys in really difficult situations where they're now forced to make shots that they wouldn't like. And Scotty, who's someone that's really never forced it, we never see him force, approach shots or anything like that. He likes to play it safe. He likes to, aim for the middle of the green. But is when there is an opportunity, he attacks it. And he is really, really consistent at what he does when there is an opportunity to get a ball close or hit an approach shot close or something like that. Scotty's next appearance will be at the Waste Management Phoenix Open in February. So a couple weeks from now, we've still got the Farmers Insurance before that. Uh, but that'll be Scotty's next. And he also plays in the Pebble Beach Pro Am, which is going to be the first signature event of the season. Rest in peace, Century, in 3 weeks. But any other final thoughts on Scotty before we move on to the rest of the field?
yeah. I was just gonna say, like you talk about how he is on a Sunday, and it's interesting that you bring up Rory because I think we go back to last year at Sunday at Augusta. Rory, and I'm gonna sound like such a weird critic, and there's no way that I could do any better. Like I'm gonna criticize somebody who's also been excellent in his own right, essentially. But we talk about like on 15 last year at Augusta, he's got that tree in his way, and he's got to bend it around that tree. And I mean, one of the best golf shots I think I've ever seen. But Scotty never seems to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Like it's the Jordan Spieth thing. It's like Jordan Spieth's gonna have the craziest par you've ever seen in your life because he's gonna be hitting it off of a roof, and then he's gonna put it in a roof next to a river, and then he's gonna hit it from a river onto the green and then chip on and make the putt. Like Scotty's never in that situation, it seems. It always seems like he's in the perfect setup to win a golf tournament. And I'm so happy, and it's changed, I guess, my perspective on him so much. Not only seeing him play a few times in person, but also finally having been there myself for a win. I was at the BMW, the final round last year, and it's just exhausting for Robert McIntyre to try to win this golf tournament. He's just got Scotty right on his back. I think it was on 7 last year is where he took the lead for the first time. And at that point, it was just like, all right, we know where this is going. This is Scottie Scheffler.
And then the shot on 17 as well, with the chip in. I mean that was insane in its own right. But he'll make those shots too when he needs it, and it feels like he always has the gut punch or the knockout punch whenever he needs it. And a day like yesterday, when he was one shot behind, quickly took the lead, never looked back, and even had some fun down the stretch to a double bogey to make it only a 4-shot win. I saw another tweet that was like, I've never seen a player be so bad at so good at turning like a 5-shot lead into a 4 or 3-shot win at the end, because it does feel like he has so much wiggle room. At times, he'll put one in the water or something, but it won't end up mattering at the end because he still wins by 4 strokes. The rest of the leaderboard, there was a lot of guys involved in that weekend stretch between Saturday and Sunday. This tournament is a place where you can go really low, which kind of keeps a lot of guys in it on the weekend. But there was 4 guys tied for T2, starting things off with Jason Day, who shot a 64, which I believe was tied for the round of the day at La Quinta at PGA West on Sunday. Jason Day, someone who, yeah, it was tied for the round of the day. Jason Day, an 8 under bogey free, 64 from him. It was a really solid performance from a guy like Day. His stuff around the green was great. His putter was definitely hot on a lot of them. Made multiple long putts throughout, but Jay Day's kind of sneaking into the top 5 and finishing with the
Yeah.
team here.
Yeah, it certainly did, and was obviously interested in those guys that we've seen be successful in the past, and how far they're going to climb on that leaderboard. We all kind of knew where it was heading at a certain point, but Day and Gerard and Matt McCarty all going really, really low. Andrew Putnam as well. Uh, yeah, was really interested in that, and then obviously was super intrigued by the story that we had all week with Blades Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple guys I want to talk a little bit about. We'll start with Ryan Gerard at T2, who shot 64, 65 on the weekend. Gerard is someone who has really played well to start this year. He had the runner-up finish at the Sony Open last week. On his last DP World Tour event, he had a runner-up finish. And now in his 3rd tournament in a row, another runner-up finish. He's someone that, I mean, I was already starting to see. I don't know if it was a joke. I was already starting to see people like say he's someone that's going to make the Ryder Cup in 27. But Gerard is someone that is really impressed to begin this season, anyways. And only 26 years old. This guy can hoop out there.
Yeah, birdie after birdie after birdie for him. I mean, if it weren't for 2 bogeys, where would he be? He would have been, technically looking at the totals, he would have been 2 strokes off the lead. Uh, yeah, birdie on 1, birdie on 3, birdie on 5, on 8, on 9, on 11, 12, 13, and 16. Just couldn't keep 2 bogeys away, and you're having a much different conversation about, him potentially giving Scotty a little run for his money there. I mean, I would love to by July be saying something completely different. But for right now, Ryan Gerard is not the guy that you're expecting to be putting up those numbers in a pretty loaded field. So he's got one PGA Tour win. He won at the Barracuda last year, and after 55 career events played, and maybe there's something here. As you mentioned, this guy has gained a little bit of steam. I would say Ryder Cup talk is a little bit premature, but
Yeah. Yeah, he's a top 30 player in the world in terms of OWGR now. And you mentioned his one PGA Tour win last season at the alternate field Barracuda. He had a T8 at the PGA Championship, runner-up finish at the Valero Texas Open last year. So some really solid performances. He just needs the consistency. It feels like because he those three performances were really the only three solid, really good performances from all of last season. But since December 21st, his last three tournaments, he's been the runner-up all three times, and we'll now look at the next events in the next couple of weeks to see if he can stay hot. Let's talk about Blades Brown. This 18-year-old phenom comes into the American Express after having played 4 straight rounds of Corn Ferry Tour play, and has 1 day to practice in travel and practice. Oh, I don't even know if he had 1 day. I think the Corn Ferry Tour event was like Sunday through Wednesday or
yeah,
something.
I don't know
And
if he even had a practice day yet.
yeah, and then comes in on Thursday and put together some solid rounds, and ultimately, was one shot off the lead heading into Sunday. Now, his Sunday was definitely not what he wanted, but a very impressive performance from Blades Brown, who finished T18, and this young 18-year-old is putting up some numbers on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it was, I mean, incredibly, incredibly difficult to not root for him all week. The story with him was incredible. He completed high school last week, wrapped up that KFT event in the Bahamas, like you said. Yeah, that wrapped up on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
he goes right to Palm Springs and plays in the PGA Tour and sets a course record on Friday and is in the final grouping with Scottie Scheffler on Sunday. I mean, that is complete pitch me. Yeah, I thought back when I saw that he completed high school last week. I thought back to when I completed high school 2 years ago, and I was during the same weekend that I graduated high school. I covered the U.S. Women's Open, and a lot of people are like, "Man, like that is really impressive." I'm like, yeah, and you know, it was an incredible experience to cover a women's golf major, but it doesn't compare to how this kid just finished high school. To go the next week and play in a final grouping with Scottie Scheffler on Sunday at a PGA Tour event. That's pretty darn special, and we heard a lot from him. He seemed like a great person and somebody that obviously you wanna keep your eye on. If that's a kid that can come in with no practice to a PGA Tour event on probably minimal sleep, considering he was traveling Bahamas to California from Wednesday into Thursday, and compete like that. I mean, you mentioned it. His Sunday was not, what he had hoped for. He fell out of contention. He shot 2 over on Sunday. He dropped 16 spots on the leaderboard, but still, to be in that final pairing is really, really impressive.
Yeah, it is. And if you look back at his Friday round on the Nicholas Tournament course, he was 8 under through 7. And that is, I have not seen a start like that in a long time. He went birdie, eagle, birdie, 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 birdie to start off his round on the back nine at the tournament course, and then added 4 more birdies on his second nine, which was the front nine because he started on the 10th tee. So a very impressive round from Blades Brown, and you know this is someone that we could be. It could be a rising star on the PGA Tour, and turning pro at 17 years old last year, and kind of played his way on the Corn Ferry Tour onto the PGA Tour with some limited starts, and he's performing well. Now the 74 on Sunday is not exactly what you were hoping for, but still someone that can. I know he said it too. He can learn a lot from experience like this, and again, he's only 18 years old. And when you're in a final group with Scottie Scheffler at 18 years old, you can definitely learn a lot, no matter how it goes. So, a great performance from Blades Brown. Some other notable finishes before we get into our predictions board for the week. You mentioned Matt McCarty and Andrew Putnam both finishing T2. Putnam shot they both shot 68 on Sunday. Siwoo Kim, who's also in the final group with Scottie Scheffler, shot an even par 72 to finish at T6. For Siwoo Kim, it was a rough stretch from holes 6 through 9. He was 4 over par at that point and kind of put himself out of contention against Scotty. Your guy, Hao Tong Lee, a T8 from him as well, fishing at 21 under. So really impressive performance from him. And he's someone that, is his first full year on tour, but we've seen him put up some really solid performances in these bigger events. And then, Zalatoris as well, T18 from Will Zalatoris in his debut.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when with Hao Tong Lee. He's going to get a win this year. It's probably going to come at the Open Championship. I'm kidding, of course, but that's where he seems to thrive
Yeah.
every year with him. It seems like that's the thing. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, Siwoo. I mean, that's brutal for Siwoo Kim. I think it was the third hole that he birdied and Scotty bogeyed, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And Siwoo all of a
Second,
sudden
second,
it was
second
the
hole.
second hole.
Yeah.
Uh, and all of a sudden, Siwoo's got the solo lead. Like, Siwoo's going to win this golf tournament if things continue the way they are. Obviously, we know that Scheffler is looming, and he's this pretty ominous presence on Sunday in contention. That obviously came true, but Siwoo at one point it was like, man, like it's pretty much right now Siwoo or Scotty, and it was not Siwoo.
No, no, it's not. And it also kind of supports the idea that being in a final group with Scotty is so daunting in itself because you have to be perfect. And if you're not
Yeah,
perfect, he's going to take advantage. And Siwoo, once he bogeyed 6, had that double on 8, and then bogey 9, and from there it was over. Props to him. He went 3 under on the back 9, which he probably assumed he was out of contention at that point, which, still going under par with Scotty after kind of imploding on the back part of the front 9, which is pretty solid from him. But definitely after having the solo lead heading into Sunday, not the performance he was looking for. But yeah, that was pretty much all the notables. Russ Henley was also T8. Sahith Theegala was T8 as well. But that was pretty much all the notables on at the top of the leaderboard. Let's go to our predictions now, Luke, because I think this segment's going to be pretty fun. All right,
well, you
this
said
is
last week it's a marathon, not a sprint, and man,
this is what the board is looking like as of now. I'm up $730,667 to Luke's $309,733. Last week, Luke was up $30,000, but Luke, you want to walk us through what happened here?
this was brutal. I will say the past champion category was difficult, and we agreed on that going into the week that it was going to be difficult because there wasn't much. It was pretty much either Straka, Siwoo, or Nick Dunlap. Siwoo obviously was the play. Uh, I thought it would be Straka. I think that Straka came in with, you know, more momentum, more credibility coming in, and Siwoo obviously was a much better choice, even though he didn't get the win. And then other than that, I mean, Tony Finau, I am obviously you're my one and done, so I'm done with Finau. I can cross him off the list for the one and done. Interesting that I mean, well, obviously you have Griffin twice in yours, which is perfectly in play to do. But I'm interested that you used Ben Griffin so early. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this with Henry in the preview episode, but I went with Griffin here for the one and done because I feel like with Griffin, you are guaranteed a consistent performance. And if you don't look at Scottie Scheffler, if you take Scottie Scheffler out of the picture, Ben Griffin has been one of the most consistent players on tour in the last year or so. In his last few events, you've got a T11, T9, T12, T10, second, and then a win and a T19 on those were his last events on the PGA Tour. So he also picked up the couple of wins back in the PGA Tour regular season last year. I feel with Griffin, you are guaranteed a good placement, and in a field like this, there are not many guys I feel super confident in knowing, super confident in about placing really consistently. And yeah, I could have gone Scheffler, and I wonder what we're going to do with the top 50 category when Scottie Scheffler's in the field moving forward. But for this one and done, I think with Griffin, I'm okay using him this early, just because it's not a super strong field compared to what we've seen, in some of these signature events moving forward. I feel like we're going to have a lot more options. Plus, I feel Ben Griffin's going to emerge at one point. This year's Ben Griffin or this year's JJ Spawn will emerge at some point this year. So I'm happy to use Griffin now, and he gave me a T19, which is solid, and he split that with a bunch of people, which is why it's at 81,000. But used him twice, and I'll take it. I'll take it for now. I got some money on the board.
So average, like speaking in terms of what its average going to be, or typically going to be, yours is how it's supposed to look. Like money, the not top 50 is the most likely category to lose money, get the past champ, and then you're one and done. Mine, we're gonna have to keep a tab on how many times this year that one of us misses three cuts, and the hardest category to make any money is where you get the money. I thought Zalatoris was kind of a steal. We both went with our favorite golfers, the ones that we get behind. You're a big Akshay guy, and I like Zalatoris. I think that he is probably not going to be eligible for the not top 50 for very long as he works his way back into things through this season. Obviously, he's been hurt for a long time now. Um, I'm watching you, Justin Rose. If we're not making cuts, that's a problem. He's supposed to be one of the best golfers in the world. So obviously, we know he's getting up there in age, but I said coming into this year that I thought that he was going to be really good despite the fact that he's getting older. He's taking care of his body extremely well, but this week wasn't his. So we're going to have to keep tabs on that. And then for one and done, I guess I got to figure out how I want to play it because like, should I have probably used Tony Finau? No. I just, it's so difficult. Like, I don't want to use my Scheffler here. I want to save that for, somewhere, well, like the PGA is probably where I'm going to use that, if not sooner, because I think that that's where he gets a major this year, at least. So, so yeah, I got to figure out how to use my one and done better because Tony Finau is probably was not the right play. But I don't want to use people that are too high up there for these tournaments right off the bat. But then again, when the number one player in the world wins, that clearly that they are putting in the work for these tournaments too. So, we'll figure it out. As you mentioned last week, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm gonna put that into play this week too.
Yeah. I don't know if I should give you advice on this one and done, but if you think about it, you've got about 30 events or so to do this
Yeah,
one and done. So you've got enough for the top 30 players in the world.
pretty
About
much. Yeah.
so that is also something to think about. Um, yeah,
And then for the majors, I'm probably like at one point probably gonna use live
yeah,
guys.
right, right,
So
yeah. So you got a little bit more. I think with Finau too, for him, for me with him, it's so hit or miss. It's either a missed cut or like a, oh, not with not with Finau. Sorry, with Rose. With Rose, it's either a missed cut. It feels like, or a top 10 finish with him, and especially that's kind of what happened last year on tour. You go back to the Farmers Insurance, and you go cut T3, cut T8, cut T47, second T47, cut T44, cut, six, T16, win. Um, and so I feel like for him, it's really just cut or a really solid performance. So that's kind of where I'm at with Justin Rose. And I feel like for him at his age, as long as we still get those highs, I still think he's a really good golfer. It's just once we start getting more of those more cuts than not is when, I mean, maybe that sounds obvious, but that's when things could start to go downhill for him. But what he's still able to do at his age is incredible. But yeah, that'll wrap up our prediction sport. I now got like a $400,000 lead or something like that. So just want to point that out there. Um, but yeah, that'll. Oh, one last thing before we wrap up. Patrick Reed. I don't know if you saw this on.
yeah,
He ended up winning the Dubai Desert Classic this weekend, and he afterwards said that he currently doesn't have a contract with Live Golf. The season starts in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, what were your thoughts when you heard that? Because that came as a little bit of a shock to me.
Yeah, I guess we got to continue to look at it. Um, I mean that new member program for the PGA does not apply to him at all. Um, so I don't know. I guess we stay tuned because there wasn't much more available there. I mean, the door just is not open for him to come back if he wanted to, unless the PGA really made another amendment. Uh, but but yeah, I don't know. I think that it's the latest in a stream of negative PR for Live Golf that they don't have something straightened out for Patrick Reed, who is not the Bryson DeChambeau, but is a recognizable name for their
Yeah.
tour. And we're talking about Liv, who has tried to sign everybody. So for them to not have something ready to go for Patrick Reed was quite surprising to me.
Yeah, and he still kind of performed well, or is kind of played well in some of these majors. As you look back at last year's Masters, kind of snuck in there for a
Hmm.
solo third. I mean that bank, he banked a shot in on like the 18th on the 72nd hole or something, and that just like completely gets lost because of what
Yeah.
happened with Rory and everything. So yeah, I mean he still is someone that performs somewhat well in majors, and them not having a contract now. I kind of want to read out the full quote here because he it's a tad more context. He said, it's just one of those things with contracts and stuff. There's a lot of language and wording in contracts and everything. And really, at this point, I mean, I don't know where everything stands. I mean, everything could have been done and complete. I mean, I haven't talked to my team these past couple of days. I'm pretty sure I'll talk to them either tonight or tomorrow morning to see where everything stands. And he says that he still expects it to get done before the season opener. But if he doesn't get a deal done, then he said he'll continue to play on the DP World Tour, attempt to be in the top 10, which will most likely be the case if he plays a full DP World Tour schedule, and then be on the PGA Tour next year, which is also an option, you know? So it's definitely a situation to monitor as of right now. But
Yes.
and then Liv will have to kind of go and try and find a spot for the four aces or whatever that team is called as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, that'll pretty much wrap things up though. We've got the preview episode coming out Wednesday morning for the Farmers Insurance Open. Brooks Koepka will be back. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at Sunday Flags Pod pretty much anywhere. We've got Instagram, Twitter. You can follow the Substack as well. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you get your podcast. You can also subscribe on YouTube for the video version as well. But that'll wrap things up. Any final thoughts, Luke, before we close things here?
No, other than that, we're easy to find in the bio and description of our episode, wherever you are listening or watching. To stay tuned with us on our other social media platforms, and that'll do it. Looking forward to Brooks Koepka's debut coming up this week, and as Mason said, we'll have your coverage on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, and so for Luke Brown, I have been Mason Kinnahan, and that'll wrap things up here on today's edition of Sunday Flags.